Imagine spending $500 billion to build a city in the middle of a desert. Not a regular city, a perfect one. 170 kilometers long. No cars, no roads, no carbon emissions. Just 2 walls of glass and steel stretching across the Saudi Arabian wilderness, housing up to 9 million people. And here is what nobody is telling you about it. NEOM is either the most ambitious urban project in human history, or the most expensive distraction ever constructed. And by the end of this video, you will know exactly which one it is, and why it matters to your life more than you think. Saudi Arabia announced NEOM in 2017. Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman stood in front of the world and said they were going to build a city unlike anything that had ever existed. A place powered entirely by renewable energy. A place where artificial intelligence would manage traffic, safety, and even your daily schedule. A place where the weather inside could theoretically be controlled. They called the centerpiece the line, and the world was fascinated. But here is where things get uncomfortable. To build the line, Saudi authorities had to remove an entire indigenous community from the land. The Huaytat tribe had lived in that region for generations. When they refused to leave, some were arrested. One man, Abdul Rahim al-Huwaiti, publicly spoke out against the displacement. He was killed by security forces in 2020. His family says he was executed. The Saudi government says it was a confrontation. That fact did not make it into the glossy promotional videos. Think about that for a second. Every utopia in history has a darker story underneath it. NEOM is no different. Now let us talk about the money. Saudi Arabia has committed somewhere between $500 billion and $1 trillion to this project. For context, that is more than the GDP of most countries on Earth. The ambition is staggering. But ambition alone does not build cities. And multiple reports from 2023 and 2024 revealed something interesting. Construction targets were quietly scaled back. The original plan was to have the line functional with 1.5 million residents by 2030. According to Bloomberg reporting, internal documents suggested the realistic target had dropped to just 300,000 residents by that date. That is a 98% reduction from the original vision. Why does that matter? Because when a government scales back by that much and says nothing publicly, it tells you something about the gap between the story being sold and the reality being built. But here is the part that most people miss entirely. Saudi Arabia is not building NEOM for tourists. It is not building it for residents. It is building it as a signal, a message to global investors, to the world economy, to the next generation of talent, that Saudi Arabia is not just oil, that it is the future. This is called Vision 2030, the plan to diversify the Saudi economy away from fossil fuels before the world stops buying them. And if you understand that, NEOM starts to make a different kind of sense. It is not really a city. It is a brand campaign, one with glass and steel and a $500 billion price tag. Now ask yourself something. How many times have you seen a project, a plan, a dream presented as a total transformation, only to find out later that the real story was far more complicated? Maybe in your own life, maybe in something you believed in. That experience of hype versus reality is something most people are quietly familiar with. NEOM is a mirror for that feeling at a civilizational scale. But there is a third dimension to this story that almost no one is discussing. If NEOM even partially works, it will change the conversation about what cities can be. The design principles being tested there: compact vertical living, renewable energy grids, pedestrian-first infrastructure, AI-assisted urban management. These are not fantasy concepts anymore. Cities in Singapore, in the Netherlands, in parts of the United States are already implementing versions of these ideas at smaller scales. What NEOM is doing is pushing the ceiling of what people believe is possible. And that changes things. Because once the ceiling moves, the floor rises with it. Here is what that means for you specifically. Every generation inherits a world shaped by the bets the previous generation placed. The highways in your city exist because someone in the 1950s bet on the car. The airport near you exists because someone bet on flight. The smartphone in your hand exists because someone bet on connectivity. NEOM is a bet. Maybe a reckless one. Maybe a visionary one. Probably both. But it is being placed right now. And the direction it points toward, cities that are cleaner, denser, more intentional, more technologically integrated, that direction is coming regardless of whether NEOM itself succeeds. The question is not whether you believe in NEOM. The question is what you believe is possible for the future of how humans live. Because if a desert can become a vertical city with controlled weather and zero emissions, if that conversation is even happening at this scale, then the things you think are fixed about your own life, your city, your routine, your options, those might be a lot less permanent than they feel. The truth about NEOM is that it is a contradiction built in concrete and glass. It is visionary and violent, ambitious and dishonest, possibly the future and possibly a monument to hubris. But the fact that it exists at all tells you something important. The people with the most power and the most money on Earth are no longer betting on the world staying the same. And that is a signal worth paying attention to. And yet most people scrolling through their phones right now have never heard of NEOM. They are watching the same content, commuting the same route, living inside the same mental map of what is possible. Not because they lack imagination, but because nobody handed them a reason to zoom out. This is what large-scale projects do when you look past the politics and the press releases. They force a question. If the world can be redesigned from scratch, why are you still living by default? Not in a motivational way. In a practical, uncomfortable, deeply personal way. The cities being built today will shape the choices available to the next generation. Where people can afford to live. What kind of work gets created? Which countries attract talent? And which ones quietly hollow out? NEOM is one data point in a much larger shift already underway. Dubai did it. Singapore did it. Shenzhen went from a fishing village to a global tech hub in under 40 years. The pattern is always the same. Somewhere decides to build the future aggressively. The world laughs. Then the world moves there. The only real question is whether you are paying attention early enough to matter.